this meeting, or at least I am currently broadcasting to you from the traditional unceded territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam people. And I'm thankful to be able to do my work on their lands. So I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight and
to introduce Art Steinman, who will tell you a little bit about Sacy.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for inviting us here tonight. Pleased to be here, and thank you, Sandra, for your part. And thank you to Student 1 and Student 3. It's always so great to hear from young people. They have a lot of wisdom and a lot of courage. So just kudos to them for chiming in. And really, how can we move forward unless we're listening carefully to everyone, and particularly students? So Sacy stands for Supporting and Connecting Youth, and it's been around for about 15 years. It's a partnership with Vancouver Coastal Health and the school board. We have 8 youth engagement workers spread across the secondary schools, primarily secondary schools, and the alts. We have 2 family workers. We have 3 staff operating a 3-day pull-out program for youth who could benefit from a little more time, 3 days, to look at their goals and their life and how they're moving forward. The goal of Sacy, it is a substance use prevention health promotion initiative. We seek to prevent, delay, or reduce problems related to substance use. And of course, mental health is absolutely interwoven through this. So being here tonight, we were invited to take part a bit here because the topic tonight is around mental health and what can parents do to support their youth and what resources and so on are available. We're looking forward to hearing from Michelle Horn later from Kelty. But for our part, we have 2 people that I'll just introduce in one moment. I wanted to also just remind all of you that in your secondary schools, you do have a Sacy Youth Engagement Worker, and feel free to link up, connect with them. They're another person who can be a support one-to-one with youth or in small groups and other things that we can do because these are trying times for everybody. So do take advantage of what we can offer. You can go to our website to learn more about it if you're wanting to access specifically who is at which schools. So I wanted to introduce 2 people, Alexandra Wilson and Paula Ferrand. Alexandra Wilson is with the Sacy team. She's our district coordinator for the parent stream, and she's got many years of experience supporting and educating and working alongside parents. And I also will introduce Paula Ferrand, who is a district counselor, also with many years experience. And she currently supports mental health literacy across the district and provides professional development for teachers on social emotional learning and positive mental health. And they're here tonight to share some ideas that I think you should find very interesting and hopefully helpful. So over to you 2, Paula and Alexandra.
Hello. Just before we ask Sandra, I guess, to put up our PowerPoint and share the screen, I'm feeling like it might be walking the talk if we all take a minute, because that was intense. I think that we hit every subject. I missed the first 10 minutes. So if you talked about climate crisis during that 10 minutes, then for sure, this meeting has hit every subject that is stressing us out right now. So it's up to you. You're in your own homes, and thank you for allowing us to join you there. But if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment, we're going to take 2 deep breaths, and then we're going to shake ourselves out. In fact, let's do the shake ourselves out first. I don't mind being the one to look a little bit silly. Yeah, there we go. I see Sandra waving her arms. I'm going to stand up and wave my arms. Like, just shake it out a little bit, people. This is, oh, there we go. Excellent. Good. Oh, do you know that apparently laughter, as well as a massage, raises your serotonin levels up to 23%. So that might be something to share with your kids. Okay, so now let's just I'm not going to take you through some big visualization. We're just going to take 2 deep breaths, do it at your own pace. If you like belly breathing, if you like chest breathing, honestly, it's up to you. It's just about just settling that down. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now that we might feel a little bit grounded, one of the things we know is that human beings don't absorb information very well when we're stressed, when we're elevated, when we're feeling tense. It's true for kids, it's true for adults. So if you start feeling yourself getting a little bit stressed or tense, you start to feel tension in your body, wherever it is that you usually hold it, just take a deep breath. You can do that right in the middle of a conversation. You can do it right in the middle of this meeting when you need to. Okay, so Sandra, how do we do the slides?
Yeah, I will share that now.
Okay.
Oops.
So while Sandra's doing this, I just want to add to Art's comment about our students, whether they're here or not. Honestly, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your insight with us as parents. It takes a lot of courage to come on a Zoom meeting and with a bunch of strangers just speak. And you had a lot to say that was super helpful. I've taken notes. I'm sure other people have taken notes, and we're going to reflect on what it is that we can do to support young people in your own words.
And
also
just to add to what you're saying, Alexandra, I feel very honored to hear the words of those students. And I really did take them to heart. And also for the parents taking time to come together right now to talk about your feelings about your kids. It takes like next level passion for the care of your children to do this. I admire parents doing this, and yeah, I'm grateful to be here today. Our first slide is about the Indigenous acknowledgement, so maybe I can start with that.
I'm very technically.
That's okay.
What are you trying to? I had it all ready to go, and then
there we go.
Yes.
Nice.
So we are acknowledging today that we are on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations.
And one of the things that when we do the land acknowledgement, one of the things that I think that we all think is important is that we try to make this not be just a box that we tick off at the beginning of meetings. And how do we make it authentic every time? So I think tonight what I'd like to add is just the reflection that, you know, working in the field of education, we're working in a field that has a lot of influence, both in the past and in the present, in the lives of youth and in the lives of families and in the lives of children. And I think, you know, I'd like to remember to be humble about both our shared history and our hopes for the future, and to learn from each other.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide.
sorry, Karen, I think I forgot to start the recording again after.
Gord did it.
Oh, Gord did it. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
That's okay, I can just start. So we've been invited today to talk about supporting your children and your mental health. Thank you. And for us, that means talking about hope, because hope is the antidote to the word that we've heard a lot tonight, which is stress. It's really all about hope. And we have a beautiful quote up here saying, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them," by Maya Angelou.
So although we aren't going to be able to do much that's super interactive tonight, I'd like to at least start off with acknowledging that we have been asked to come and talk about mental health and how to support students. And the first thing we're telling you is we're going to nurture hope. And sometimes people have said, maybe that's not really what I came here for. So if you don't mind opening the chat and sending us one word or an emoji, just how does that feel? Are we is there a disconnect between the title and the topic? And I'll tell you something some people have said in the past while we wait and see if any words come up. Oh, always good with hope. I haven't seen that one before. Sometimes people have said, I'm curious. Sometimes people have said, what? Sometimes people have put in question marks. We've got the emoji with the little exploding brain sometimes. So thanks for those who've put in an answer.
Can never have enough hope.
Excellent.
Yes.
That's nice.
Worried about it being too platitudish. So worries are coming up with hope.
Yeah.
Yes. G-A-D. Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that is, I think, the tension, right? Between, sometimes people feel like it's a tension between reality and platitude. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to our next slide. Okay, so this really is a time for kindness, and I'm not sure if other folks have noticed that it's a tough time to find acts of kindness these days. And I first noticed it, I think, when spring break, I was in my car for a long time, and then I went on a drive, and I noticed that everybody was driving very fast, and it was a little bit scary for me. And now I'm noticing with people wearing masks, and with me wearing a mask, I smile underneath my mask, which is kind of silly, but it's my automatic thing to connect with people. So what I would like to challenge parents to do is to talk about kindness with their kids and help them notice acts of kindness, to elevate and magnify kindness in the world, because we just don't know what all people are going through and how this time has impacted them. And it's just a really important thing to model for our kids. Kids take their cues from us. And the picture that I have before you is a picture from my daughter's room. And I don't know how many of you had a Precious Things shelf. And this is her Precious Things shelf. And she had a birthday in the summertime, and she asked for this marquee for her birthday. And I thought it was kind of cute, and she got this for her birthday. And this is the message that she put on there. But I love it. It shows her natural resilience, her natural hope. She's playing and looking at her favorite things with joy. But she also knows that there's this thing happening, and she really is hoping that it's over soon. So that's what we're inviting you to do as well as parents. And if the students are still listening, is try to intentionally focus on hope and kindness.
One of the things I love about this photo is it reminds me of when I had preteens and children. And if any of you are like me and have teenagers and older youth, maybe we don't get to see the cuteness in the room. We don't get to see the things that are, buoying them up and the precious things that they spend time with. And I really want to acknowledge that that's a developmental thing that's totally appropriate. And so our teenagers, they if we just mention 3 out of a dozen developmental needs, teens need privacy. And so there's that thing about the room. They need the privacy to sort through all the changes, right? They're changing hearts and minds. And they need that autonomy. So the autonomy to make some of their own decisions and to learn what kind of life makes sense for them. I loved the student who said, yes, Study groups are a great idea as long as they're optional, even for those who probably should go but are going to choose not to go. Like, did everybody really listen to that? Yay, you, student 1 or 3, I don't know who you were, but that's autonomy, right? They still need autonomy, our kids. They're learning through trial and error, and that brings up the decision making. That this is a time of making some of your own decisions, even when they're the ones that your parents or your teachers don't agree with, and you figure out whether it works for you. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you get to try it out again. You know, summer school can be your friend. It's not a terrible thing. So I kind of want, in this idea of being kind and of listening and validating experience and anxiety, is to remember that our teens are going through some real developmental stuff that doesn't stop because we're in COVID.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if I could just say one more thing about that.
Oh, you're breaking up, Alexandra.
One of the other things for youth is that adolescent.
That's good.
Oh, I see my intro. So one of the things with you. Okay, great. Thank you. So just another thing that the young people who spoke tonight mentioned several times was connectedness, about connecting with friends, connecting with teachers, about whether they were introvert or extrovert and how that impacted things. And teenage friendships are a key safety valve for adolescent stress. So when our kids need to spend time with friends, they actually kind of need to spend time with friends.
Thanks, Alexandra. I think we can go to the next slide. So part of the reason why I love making acronyms is because it does remind me that we can organize our thoughts when thoughts are overwhelming, with overwhelming feelings. Just kind of parceling them up and organizing them is also an antidote to stress. So it's like your task list. So this is our acronym for HOPE. And it's around coping with those hard feelings. So Alexandra, would you like to start with the first one?
Thank you. So H, help yourself first. I know this is a cliche. We imagine being on the plane and getting the instruction for the oxygen mask. And the instruction is you put your oxygen mask on first. But you know, as much as I always have believed that, it wasn't until somebody said to me, the reason you need to put your oxygen mask on first is that if you put your oxygen mask on your 6-year-old and then you pass out, your 6-year-old cannot lift you up to the oxygen mask. And that visual just really struck me. The reason that we take care of ourselves is so that we can be that foundation for our kids who cannot be the foundation for us. So kind of step 1 is our mental health, and our ability to deal with our stress is going to help our kids' mental health and their ability to deal with their stress.
Thank you. So offsetting negative thoughts is a strategy, and it's a really important one for right now, especially. So kids and adults really need to know that, of course, it's normal to have negative thoughts. We have millions of different thoughts coming in and out of our heads every day. So notice when they show up, if they're taking over most of the space in your mind, if they're showing up unexpectedly, and if they're getting really, really big and repetitive. And that's when we need to challenge those thoughts and question those thoughts, because just because we're having a negative thought doesn't mean that it's true. So an example of something that happens in my house is that my kids question my negative thoughts because I verbalize them sometimes. So that's that self-talk. And they verbalize their negative thoughts sometimes. So when my daughter has a lot of homework, sometimes she tends to say, I'm never going to be able to do this. And so that I pay attention to that always and never language. And so I say, oh, well, I try to use empathy every time. it sounds like you're really overwhelmed by your homework. And I wonder how you would feel if you said, I have all this homework, but I got this. I can do this. I know I can do this. It does make you feel different when you say something positive, especially out loud. So that's another challenge for you all, is to notice if you're having negative thoughts and think about how it makes you feel, and challenge those thoughts. Did you want to add anything there, Alexandra?
No, I think that's great.
Okay. And moving into planning your strategy, this is another huge strategy for overwhelming thoughts and feelings, is to make a plan for them. As soon as you find that you're overwhelmed with feelings, making even a 1, 2, 3 simple plan automatically will help you calm your nervous system down. So in my example, with my daughter being overwhelmed with her homework, I do help her make a plan. I just ask her a couple of questions. So what are you going to do first? And when she's getting out of that worrying mindset, when she moves into the planning mindset, it automatically lowers her stress about that overwhelm. So it's a really good strategy. Another thing that we do to talk about plans, because kids are actually really good at making plans and making it through hard times. So at the dinner table, we play a game called Roses and Thorns. We talk about the good things that have happened in the day, and we talk about the not so good things. And when we talk about the not so good things, I ask them, how did you make it through that time? What did you do to make it through that argument that you had with your friend? And that is actually helping them sort and plan for the next time that a stressor comes up. And Alexandra, do you want to add anything or talk about the E?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to add one little thing, and then I'm going to talk about the E.
Okay.
I'm being told my internet is unstable, so I'm really sorry if I suddenly cut out. So I would like us in the room tonight, in all our different rooms all across the city, to remember, number one, help yourself first. So I love Paula's approach to talking with her kids at the dinner table. And I would like all the parents in the room to think about planning your own strategy for facing hard times. I'm super aware of what the first 20 minutes of this meeting was like in terms of people's anxiety being super high. And again, if we're managing our elevation, then we're modeling to our kids. And as you get into the teenage years, our modeling is super important. So being able to say to your kids, wow, like, I think I really messed up at that meeting today. I wasn't as prepared as I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I think it's because I didn't get enough sleep last night. So next time I'm going to make sure I get enough sleep. I hate how that messed it up. And so what you're doing is, while you are planning your own strategies for facing hard times, you're also modeling to your kids that, you know, adults make mistakes and adults learn from things. So that might be like a teen parent strategy there. And expect things will get better. E, well, I love this one. I want to say hope over fear. The human brain is constantly, especially adults, scanning the horizon. Where's the danger? Where's the danger? Where's the pitfall? And I bet a lot of people in the room, you can like put the little reaction on your screen, hand up if you feel that, where you're like scanning for the danger. Okay, is my kid going to fail? Oh my goodness, have I heard from the school? Have we heard from the school soon enough? What are we doing about the SLO situation? You know, like all of that, right? And we start to look for the negative, but what happens is then we can kind of create a cloud of negativity in our homes, in our families. And I want to talk about hope over fear. Mm-hmm. All right. So we can use language of hope just as reasonably as the language of fear. We can say it's inspiring how teachers and students are willing to try something new. We can say, I'm proud of you for trying to self-motivate. It's not easy, is it? We can say, it's encouraging that there's actually so many ways to learn. I never really thought of it that way, that people are willing to be flexible. You know, if it takes 2 years to finish grade 8, or if we all end up completing high school in 7 years instead of 5, that might actually be a good thing, slowing down. I don't know. But we can start to think about things in that way, because what we believe tends to be self-fulfilling. So can we try for optimism? Okay, I'm done now with this slide.
Thank you, Alexandra. I loved that.
Oh yeah. So speaking of optimism, trying for optimism and looking for positivity, I thought I would just throw this idea up there. If anybody is familiar with the heliotropic effect, that's the tendency of all living systems to move towards light and away from darkness. And although it started with science, if you Google the heliotropic effect, what you're going to get is all kinds of stuff about life coaching, about positive psychology, about business leadership, about education leadership, because what we know is that human beings also psychologically move towards the positive and away from the negative. So I think this is just an image and an idea to keep in mind. What's the positive atmosphere? What's the dialogue that I can create at home with my family? Showing interest, showing curiosity, being non-judgmental as we help our kids process what they're going through here. I think that one of the students actually said something lovely that's related, and I'm just going to look where I wrote it down. Oh, and asking for support, basically saying, like, believe that we already know how hard this is. Believe we already know how important it is to work hard. So how do we help them unpack that and come down from that, instead of adding to the pressure of asking them, do you understand how important this is to do the work?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Alexandra. I love that too. And I just wanted to add a little thing.
Oh, please.
Like we do live in a time where negative news and talk is magnified. So how can we magnify those joyful moments and remind ourselves? I have a tape in my head of a funny video that I saw of just a couple days ago. I'm just thinking about it, makes me laugh right now. I don't know if you as a family look at old videos of when your kids were doing really silly things, but that's what we do. And so I have this one that I keep in my head, and then I find myself laughing in meetings and people think I'm kind of funny, but if they saw the video, they would be laughing too. So how can you magnify those joyful moments for yourself? So we can go on to the next slide. So this is a lot of text, and I'm not going to read all the text, but it's really about noticing that there will be unexpected behaviors with your kids right now and with yourselves, because kids, when they act out, when they get unexpectedly teary or reactive or angry or shut down, and if it's happening a little bit more these days, which it probably is, it also activates you as a parent. So I'm obviously talking as a parent this evening and as a counselor, because we all get activated by what's going on with our kids too. So I did have a conversation with my 12-year-old and I said, have you noticed lately that there's been a little bit more tears and angry reactions, and I kind of lost my temper last night? And she said, well, yeah, I've noticed that too. And I said, it kind of makes sense. It makes sense right now because there's lots of stuff going on in the world, and it's happening. It's happening really fast too. And I hope that you're patient with me. And she's like, yeah, I hope you're patient with me too. So we were able to talk it through. And I really want her to know, and what we teach kids in schools is that feelings are normal, and anxiety and stress and all of the uncomfortable feelings that we've talked about tonight are normal, very normal under these circumstances. But what we really want to bring home to everyone is that they're normal, but they don't feel good all the time. Sometimes they feel very uncomfortable and scary, especially when it comes to tummy ache and fast heartbeat and all that stuff. But those feelings don't last forever. And their brains and their bodies, all of our brains and our bodies, were built and made to handle it. And your kids are learning this in school. That is the psychoeducational piece that they will learn, is that they were built to handle stress. Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that, Alexandra?
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I love that piece about our brains and bodies being built to handle it, and it'll pass. One of the things that I always think about with the validating emotion thing, which is the difference between how important it is for all human beings. I mean, we can all think about the times when someone has told us we're wrong, or that what we're feeling isn't appropriate, or the times when somebody has really listened and validated that it was okay to feel how we feel. And I want to just remind us as parents that, when we validate a kid's feelings or a teenager's feelings, it's not the same as giving permission for whatever the behavior is. So, I think one of the things with a younger child is when you do observe, accept, tolerate emotions, reflect back to them that they've had a hard day, and talk about it. Often what ends up happening is you end up having a cuddle, and maybe they cry, and you feel that you've really helped them feel better. And when the tears get wiped away, maybe you decide that you're going to have popcorn and watch a movie together and cuddle on the couch, and it's so wonderful for the parent and for the child. And I just want to say that when you validate the emotions of a teenager, it might not go exactly that way, but it doesn't mean that it's not important. So we might have a teen where we say, wow, it looks like you've had a really tough day, because they come in slamming the door, dropping their backpack, whatever. And it ends up going in some direction where our teenager ends up saying, you wouldn't understand. I don't want to tell you about it. You never listen anyways. And as a parent, you might say, oh, wow, like it does sound like things are really tough. Yeah, well, like I said, you wouldn't understand. Oh, I would like to understand, though, if you wanted to talk about it. Ugh, whatever. And walking up to their room. You did the right thing. You did the right thing. You gave them the space to talk and let them know that you're there to vent to. You're there to be a support. But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel so good as a parent. You don't get that cuddle on the couch to watch the movie. So what I want to say is, when you validate your teen's feelings and you have that conversation, even if it doesn't go the way that you hoped it would go, you did the right thing. Phone your friend, go for a walk, make yourself a cup of tea, have a warm shower, whatever it is.
Thanks for adding that. I'm laughing so much. I don't know if people are hearing me laughing, because I also have a teenager. So talking about emotions is a whole different ball game when it comes to the teenager. And so is what's in her room, because I can't really go in there.
So Paula, one of the things that I loved when you talked about your conversation with your 12-year-old, I actually had a note to myself to say tonight that this statement of hope, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about school, whether it's about friendships, whatever, sometimes we kind of forget to acknowledge with our kids that we're going through a hard time sometimes as a family. And I loved what you said. And as the parent of one teen and one kid in their 20s, I think it's also really important to be able to say that sometimes these arguments happen as teenagers grow up, because as parents, we haven't really caught up with how fast you've matured, but we're going to get through this. We're going to be okay.
True. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's my mantra. Okay. I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay. So this is a list of coping strategies, and you've probably seen a similar list before. The visualize a happy place comes from my long time habit of planning fake vacations. And I've done this for as long as I can remember, down to the hotel, the flights, never going to go to these places, but I've done it for I've gone all over the world in my mind. Turns out it's good for your mental health and well-being to do that. So I was right on the money there. But visualize a happy place. My happy place is my video in my head or my summer vacation place, but it really does help. And locating where you feel your feelings in your body. So that's a lot about being activated by other people's emotions too, and especially your kids' emotions, to take those deep breaths right into the place where it's going on in your body, because of course our physiological responses move and change with our emotions. And then addressing those thoughts that we talked about before. What if I blank out on my presentation night? If those thoughts are ruminating in my head, being very intentional about things that I can say to myself. And really thinking about what's in your control and what's not is so important right now, especially if we're a person that loves to watch the news and watch the numbers. I love watching the news and scrolling on Instagram. And I heard a new term today called doom scrolling. So that's when you kind of get deep in the negative. And can you add those positive sites to your Instagram account? Can you notice when you're doing that and do something different? So practicing, it does take practice to do these things, because we kind of know, we know all this stuff, what's good for us. Think about what are our roadblocks, why we're not practicing these things. We know that mindful breathing is great. Why am I not doing that? And talking to yourself about that and making a plan. And moving your body, of course, always usually changes your mind to move your body.
I love
Is there
that.
anything you wanted to add there, Alexandra?
Well, the one thing I want to add, and I wish I could look every single adult in the room in the eyes, I want to say, this is your oxygen mask. So when we say, put your oxygen mask on first, these are strategies for our own stress as parents to help us not download that stress onto our families or to elevate their stress. I think, one of the things I've learned as a parent and living through this time is that it doesn't help to wait to do these strategies until you're so stressed you actually need a 2-week vacation to come down. Mm-hmm. They only work if we use them. And I know for me, I sit in workshops where I'm taught these kinds of things. And honestly, 80% of the time, I'm thinking how I can teach my kid those skills. Mm-hmm. Especially by the time you have teenagers, the way that they learn is by watching what we do. So if we're freaking out and we are stressed, it's very difficult to be taken seriously when we suggest they go to their happy place, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a saying, and sometimes we don't even know we're doing this. And I want to use an example because it shows how, I hate being late. And when I am driving my daughter to school, if we're late, I talk in the car. Some of us are real talkers, not helpful if you've got kids with anxiety, or at least not helpful in my house. And I hate being late. I hate being late. I know it's not going to be too bad, but I'm not even saying anything terrible, but I'm perseverating a little bit on being late and what we could do differently tomorrow so that we're not going to be late. And my daughter has said to me and has taught me a very good lesson. She's not the most gracious person as a teenager. She said, "Could you not, please?" Because I'm increasing her anxiety. She already has anxiety. It's already hard to get to school. So it's easy for us to not realize, that's the moment when I should be visualizing a happy place. Taking a deep breath, maybe distracting myself, thinking about what's in my control and what's not in my control. There's a saying in education that teachers don't teach the lesson, teachers are the lesson. And I think that this is even more true for us as parents.
Mhm. Yeah, even when we don't know it, we're teaching our kids. They're
Mhm.
learning from us all the time. Okay, I think we can
We
move
have
on
a
to-
we have a beautiful, beautiful message in the chat. Sorry to interrupt, Paula, from one of the students. And I think I'm just going to read this out loud.
Okay.
Okay. This took a while to type, so this is a bit late. I will say that being open to talk about emotions is very important. As someone who didn't feel like there was an open space to discuss this, I feel bad for venting to my friends and adding to their stress when things get too much, but having them there is such a big help. Not everyone has these friends, so please be that person for them. I will also say, please be mindful of your child's privacy and keeping their trust. Privacy is very important, not just to me, but not just me, but because everything these days feels so exposed. I feel like everyone can feel the same way. The two things I have feared is being a disappointment and having my vulnerable state being exposed by people I trust. Please let them know you'll be there for them. And if you haven't been a very open parent, it's always better late than never. Such wise words.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we can copy that and think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's lovely.
Deep breath.
Yeah. That was very brave. Very
Thank you.
lovely.
Thank you for typing that. Oh, shall we go to the next slide?
Yes.
It's super important. So when we talk about coping with when we talk about coping with uncomfortable feelings, like this is, and supporting our students' mental health and really their mental wellness and our mental wellness as parents, is what we're talking about is coping with uncomfortable feelings. We're not talking about big D depression or capital A anxiety. We're talking about when we're bored, when we're restless, when we feel a little blue, when we feel down, when we feel overwhelmed or impatient or nervous. How do we cope with these things? What do our children see us doing when we as a way to cope with these uncomfortable feelings? We've put a link here, and it is in the last slide also, of resources of 25 healthy ways to feel better that are things that youth have done and that help in those uncomfortable moments. And I love this because I think it's also something we can do as a family, not necessarily do those things, but just to have that conversation, like what works for dad, what works for mom, what works for other mom, what works for grandma, what works for auntie, what works for the youngest sibling, what makes the dog feel happy when you see the dog sitting there all morose, right? What are the things we do that can help us feel better? We can come up with a big family list. So.
Thank you. We can move to the next slide.
Is there anything you want to add, Paula?
No, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Now, I think that your mic is cutting out a bit now.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you're good.
Am I back? Okay. All right. So here we go again. For us to think about this idea, what are the small steps that we can take back to feeling okay? What's a plan as a parent, as an adult in this world right now that we can put together, each of us for ourselves, for when we feel down or when it feels like too much or when we need a break? And I'm just talking about small steps to feel better. You see how this is not like a super highway to excellence? That's not what we're talking about in these times. What we're talking about is putting together piece by piece little things that we can do to feel okay. Let's get back to feeling okay. Let's get back to feeling a little hopeful. I want to challenge people tonight, not here at the meeting, but maybe before you go to bed. is to make a list, maybe just of 3 things that you know make you feel a little bit better when you're not feeling so great. And then to do them when you need them. That modeling and explicit modeling, being able to say to our kids, you know what? I didn't even eat lunch today. I'm going to make a sandwich before I do anything else. Like, let them see you taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thanks, Alexandra. And I think a good reminder is that it can be really, really small,
Yeah.
very small. And you can go minute by minute or hour by hour, but something small that will move you moving towards something.
Yeah.
That makes you feel good. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. And we have a little video to show about surfing the wave of emotions. Can we play the video?
I don't see the play button on it.
It should be, if you hover over it, then there should be a little arrow.
It might be because it is being displayed, I think, in a browser and not in PowerPoint itself.
Okay.
One
The
moment.
link.
Just one moment. Let's see if I have a copy of the slide myself on PowerPoint. Let's see if I can see it.
Okay.
The link is also on the resource page to cut and paste.
Sandra, do you mind if I share my screen for you just for a second?
Also, I am really aware that we have gone over the original allotted time. It's only a 4-minute video. So if you would like to be able to watch it on your own, if that makes sense to the group,
Mhm.
because we want the next speaker to have fair time
I
also.
think in the interest of time, maybe we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case,
Because-
back over to you then, Sandra. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a link to the video. Some of the resources will be there for you to access later on. The resources are familiar to you, and Kelty Mental Health will be speaking after us. And Child Mind Institute, also Ease at Home, is everyday anxiety strategies for educators. Just has some tools for mindfulness and for easing anxiety, and a couple of other links for my favorite podcast, the Lynn Lyons podcast, and Healthy Teen Magazine.
Gord, can you pull it up? I'm having some.
And that's okay. You know what? I think, oh, and we also have a poster for Family Smart Nights, where Family Smart folks are putting on parent nights to talk about, I think it's mostly anxiety, but they have monthly information and support nights.
Yeah. Tuesday night, I mean, next Monday night is specifically on parenting in the context of kids not going to school, either refusing to go to school, not feeling safe to go to school. So you'll see, that will be in the PowerPoint. I'm assuming it's being sent out to
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
So I will share my screen. Is that what you wanted me to do, Sandra?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so are we moving on to this slide deck? Yes. Am I moving on to this deck now?
Yes, that's
Okay.
great. We are done. Thank you very much for your time and listening.
Thank you. So I'm not sure.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Paula. Sorry, I was a mess.
So we're going to turn it over to the next speaker, and who's presenting this one? Sandra?
Yeah, so we have Michelle Horn from
All good.
Kelty.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Sandra, and thanks so much, Alexandra and Paula. That was that was a wonderful presentation. I know I feel a lot calmer just doing the deep breathing and hearing you speak about all the coping strategies. So, so thank you so much for all of that, and thank you, Sandra, for organizing this. And I just wanted to echo thank you to the students who were joining today. There was you're both so brave and provided us with such insight. I know I was madly writing notes as you were speaking as well too. So thank you very much. So I'm here to talk about a little bit about supporting family and child well-being during COVID-19 and some of the resources that we offer through the Kelty Mental Health Resource Center for parents and families. And did you want me to go through the slides, Sandra or Gord, or were you going to go through them?
You go ahead and walk. I mean, they're your slides. You just tell me when you need me to advance.
Okay. Sounds good. So you can go to the next one. So, I mean, we all know that we're facing uniquely challenging times with COVID-19, and parents are facing decisions and stressors that we never anticipated around, returning to school, whether your child should wear masks or not, how to stay connected, how much to let your children socialize with friends. I have kids in elementary school, so I'm right there with you with all these struggles that we talk about at drop off and pick up with the kids, and we're all in this together. So it's challenging for all parents, and it can be really hard to know how to best support your child as we all navigate through these routines that have been disrupted in our lives. And as Alexandra and Paula were saying, how to make sure that you're also taking care of yourselves during this time, because we know that's the most important thing. Next slide. And just to show a little bit, I mean, we all know that COVID-19 is impacting child and family well-being, but I just put this up just to show that, everyone is feeling stressed about certain aspects. So parents are concerned about their children. So in this StatsCan survey of parents, 71% of children were very or extremely concerned about their children's opportunities to socialize with friends, the amount of screen time they were having, loneliness, their general mental health, the school year. And then families are also concerned about, more general family challenges, such as parents having to balance school and work and childcare, managing their child's behavior, stress levels, anxiety, emotions. Having less patience, raising their voice at their kids, staying connected. So there's a lot on parents' plates right now, and it's really important that we all, stop and try to remember to go to our happy place and, do those coping strategies that Alexandra and Paula were mentioning, so that we can be there for our kids. And for the rest of the presentation, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some kind of resources and supports that hopefully you can all bring back to the packs at your schools and share with parents so they know who they can reach out to if they're struggling. So the Kelty Mental Health Resource Center, how can we help? So the Kelty Center is a provincial resource center. We're located at BC Children's Hospital, but we serve the province. And really the three main things that we do is we offer peer support from trained parent peer support workers. We provide mental health and substance use information for parents and families of children and youth up to the age of 25. And I always like to mention also that school professionals and health professionals can always contact us as well. So if school professionals are worried about a child or looking for a resource to provide to a family, they're always welcome to contact us as well. And then the third kind of main piece that we offer is really helping families, supporting them in understanding and connecting to support services in their communities, knowing what their different treatment or support options are, how they can access them. So just that system navigation piece and understanding what's available, what their options are, feeling a little less overwhelmed and having maybe one next step that they can take, starting with kind of where they are. So as mentioned, we're provincial. Anyone in BC can access. We can be reached over the phone. So we have a toll-free number as well as a local number, and this will be at one of the last slides as well, by email. Zoom virtual calls, so families can call or email to set that up, and there's staff and peer support workers answering the phones and responding to emails Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 5. We don't have wait times. If you call, you'll most likely get someone answering the phone right away who's offering peer support and connecting you to resources. If not that day, it'll be a call back the next day or an email back the next day, but usually within 24 hours. There's no referral required, and we're free of charge. So to talk a little bit more about the peer support piece, so we have trained parent peer support workers at the Kelty Center through a collaboration with Family Smart, and Alexandra and Paula were mentioning a bit about Family Smart a few minutes ago. For those of you that aren't aware of Family Smart, they're a provincial nonprofit organization with trained parent peer support workers, as well as some youth peer support workers in communities across BC. And then through the Kelty Center, we have a collaboration where we have Family Smart parent peer support workers who work out of the Kelty and support anyone that contacts us from anywhere in the province. So we have 3 parent peer support workers at the Kelty Center right now. And they all have lived experience with mental health challenges in their families, and they just are there to offer non-judgmental, compassionate support to other families across BC, to listen, to take that burden off, to kind of reduce that stigma of having been there themselves and having really kind of getting what they're going through. Through that, they also connect families to resources and help families understand about their options. And that if you go to that link there, you can read the bios of our lovely peer support workers at the Kelty Center. So the next slide just goes through, it's kind of like a family's journey just to demonstrate why families contact us, the range of reasons why. So we can support families at any point in a family's kind of journey or wherever they're at, really. So from a family, really at the beginning of a journey of being like, my kid is, ever since COVID started, it seems like they're more anxious. Like they're saying they don't want to go to school and they used to love to go to school. And this is all new for me. Like, I don't even know where to start. Do I go to my school? Do I call my doctor? What do I do? So we can help them. They can call us, get a bit of peer support, and learn what their options are from the staff at the Kelty Center. To moving along a journey to say if there's been a diagnosis, for example, but it was all a bit of a blur. And they're like, there was this medication that was prescribed or this therapy, this acronym that was mentioned, and I have no idea what it was that was mentioned in that meeting. How do I learn more about it? We can provide a lot of resources and information, and in a lot of different languages as well too. So if English isn't a first language, we have lots of different resources in different languages on our site that we can provide, as well as translation services that are available. Moving along to, a family that might have been supporting a child for a while to, this is really hard. Is there someone I can talk to? That's where the peer support piece really comes in. To even further along to possibly a family who has received quite a few different services and is just really frustrated because their child is still struggling and they're at their end of their rope and saying, what do I do now? So really supporting them at that place as well too. And just a few quotes from families that have received support from us. So in all the years of dealing with the system for my grandson, you're the only ones who listened. I feel so much lighter. And I've been looking for so long for this kind of support. So that was kind of to let parents and families know, how they can contact us and what we can support them with through the Kelty Center if they contact us. We also have a number of online tools and resources. So our main website is keltymentalhealth.ca. And if you go to that, you can find a wealth of information about different mental health challenges and disorders, about stress management and mindfulness, and how to foster good resilience and sleep in your children, as well as information about medications and types of therapies. So I encourage you to go and check it out if you haven't already. And then we have another separate website that's just focused on eating disorders and disordered eating, which has a lot of information about, if you're concerned about someone, how you can even have that conversation with them, how you can approach them. If your child is struggling, what you should do and how you can support them. Next slide. And then also on our website, we do have a dedicated section to parenting during COVID-19. So it's a full new section of our website that we've added and are continually kind of updating and ensuring it's up to date. It's easily accessible from the homepage if you go there from the top left corner, but it has kind of three main sections. One, how to talk to your child about COVID-19 with lots of resources and tools there. Supporting your child during COVID-19, which has kind of general tips on supporting your child, which goes through some of the things that Paul and Alexander were talking about validating their feelings and other ways you can support them. But then also kind of some specific ways you can support children who might be, acting up behaviorally and you don't know quite what to do, or they're more anxious, and what you can do to support children who are more anxious. And then a section on that really important piece about taking care of yourself during COVID-19 and some tips and strategies from that, including some really great mindfulness videos that Dr. Zoom Vo from BC Children's Hospital's Center for Mindfulness did for us here at the hospital to kind of provide people with a resource so you can follow along with his mindfulness videos, but it's specific to mindfulness during COVID-19. And he tells some really kind of great anecdotes within those, and they're quite short, so you can fit them into your day. Another resource that I just wanted to highlight, so the Kelty Center has a newer podcast. It's called Where You Are. And each episode has both health professionals and clinicians, as well as parents, talking about different topics. It's quite conversational, meant to kind of have an open conversation about, from a parent's and a health professional's perspective on a topic. So we've covered everything from anxiety to ADHD to fostering resilience to social emotional development in school and homes. But the one I wanted to highlight was we did one with Dr. Ashley Miller from BC Children's Hospital called Parenting During COVID-19. We're all in this together. It's shorter, it's about 19 minutes. And she just gives some really, really practical tips for how you can support your children and how you can coexist in a home with other people where you're spending a lot of time together and people are getting on each other's nerves, what you can do to kind of live well together. And I just wanted to put this quote in there because I really like the quote. Kids and teens are wired to adapt. And parents and caregivers have been so creative in the ways that they use this opportunity of crisis to teach their kids about the value of helping and about how to see the positive. And it kind of goes back to Paula and Alexandra's point about, this is an opportunity to show hope to your children and also to teach them about, helping and staying positive through this. And it is an opportunity, and kids are, they're wired to adapt. They are resilient. So having that hope and focusing on the positives as well. A few other resources. So we have a few webinars on supportive parenting during COVID-19. There was one that we did near the end of August on setting children in youth up for a successful return to school during COVID-19. The recording's on our website, and I bring it up just because I feel like the content in it is still fairly relevant. So it is for children who are highly anxious or are refusing to go to school or avoiding going to school, and really good strategies for children, but also for parents who are feeling really anxious about their kids being in school again. I think there's still some really relevant tips within that would be beneficial. And then we do have an upcoming webinar on November 25th on supporting children and youth with ADHD during COVID-19 and addressing some specific challenges and strategies that might work for those children and youth. We don't have the information up on our site yet, but we will be getting that up soon, and you can find that in our events calendar. So that was kind of it for me. It was short and sweet. I know it's getting a bit late and everyone's probably getting a little tired, but I wanted to end with this quote from Dr. Rosalind Catchpole and Dr. Anderson, who did the webinar. In the words of Dr. Bonnie Henry, let's be kind during this extremely challenging time. To ourselves, because this isn't easy, to our kids who are also nervous, and finally to our kids' teachers who are also navigating this uncertainty alongside us. And on the next slide, I just have our social information to stay connected. If you sign up for the monthly e-newsletter, you'll get information about the upcoming webinars and other resources that we have on supportive parenting during COVID. And my contact information is on the last slide here. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions, or if there's any topics that you're seeing in your schools or communities that you feel like that you think it would be really beneficial for us to add content on or do a webinar on. We're always wanting to hear from people about what you're needing and what we can do to support you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you had any closing words, Sandra.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I actually wanted, I know it's late. I wanted to end the meeting with a Q&A if anyone's interested. If you're not interested in Q&A, now's the time to leave.
Who's answering?
No, question and answer for Michelle and Paula and Alexandra if they're still here. So if you can raise your hand if you have a question. If nobody has a question, I guess we're done.
It is late, and
Yeah.
I don't know how many Zoom meetings everybody or how many meetings everybody else has had today. It's nice to see faces, but after about the third or fourth, fifth, I don't know how time you see somebody on people in a cluster on a screen, it does get a little bit tiring. One of the best carved jack-o'-lanterns that I've seen only on Twitter so far. I'd like to try to replicate it myself. It pretty much speaks to the year. It's a jack-o'-lantern with 4 little Zoom windows in it. It's fantastic. Do take a look for it. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and hearing our students speak and hearing our presenters speak. I think it's been a tough year, and I think we need to have strategies to protect our own mental health, and in doing so, be able to model being able to model taking care of our mental health and being able to support our children, model taking care of their own mental health, and further to that, helping us get our communities through this month, this week, this month, this year, and the next year. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to again thank our presenters. Thank you to Sandra for lining everybody up. Thank you, students 1, 2, and 3, and 4, if you're still here. And, well, that's fine. They had some great insights. So thank you very much, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Go relax, de-stress, take care of yourself.
That's right.